We always underestimate how profound the changes are going to be, and we overestimate how fast they're going to happen.
Google is betting billions on AI agents and multimodal models. But what's really behind the strategy?
My team and I work with our top roughly 150 customers around the world to make sure that as this technology factory that we're spinning up all the time and releasing new products, that they know how best to leverage that technology for their own specific business use cases and needs. Right now, as you build tens, hundreds, even thousands of agents, agent alignment against tasks is a really difficult problem. So that's one of the things that more of an R&D mode we work to make easier for our customers.
What's happening in the agent world? And then we can talk about what you're doing specifically with agents.
Well, agents have quickly become kind of the surface through which many consumers and businesses are starting to experience the power of AI. Agents are kind of like almost like this third wave of automation and intelligence, and that they can take intent, they can take it in a variety of ways. It can be typed, it can be spoken, and it can execute tasks on your behalf. And this obviously has profound potential impact in today, real world impact across a number of consumer use cases as well as business to business use cases. So when the Wi-Fi goes out, the first thing you want to do is you want to get help. And the typical workflow for getting help is you go to the website and you try to scroll through, whoever your provider is or the mobile app. You try to find how to debug the problem. It's a very chat kind of 2010 interaction model. Well, in the world of agents, and there's a telco in the UK that's doing this right now that we're working with. What they do is they have an app experience, and if someone is experiencing an outage of the Wi-Fi and they still have access to cellular, they pop up a live multimodal experience where the customer support agent will come up. They will have the individual point their camera at the equipment that they have in the house, and they're able to figure out how to do troubleshooting based on the equipment that's in the location, of the apartment or the house that person's in, through a completely native multimodal experience. And so that is an example of, you have an orchestrator agent, you have sub agents underneath the hood that are characterizing, a video and orchestrating the chat and orchestrating the text. So all these different agents are coming together to create this very seamless support experience. Companies themselves and organizations themselves also have to, in some cases, for the first time, actually document what their decision rules are. There's the process, there's the documentation, and then there's the human judgment, unspoken norms and things that sit underneath the surface. We're working with a company right now, and part of what we're working on is people want to buy home goods, but they want to be able to see it in their kind of living space before they choose. And so if you're going to create an AI as kind of a designer to automate these processes and to create this kind of like, before you buy it, like, let's put it in your space, that's a very complex problem because you're dealing with physics, you're dealing with inventory, real-time inventory. There's a lot of very complicated pieces to making this design work really well. And so what we've had to do is we've had to architect evaluation at multiple steps in the process. The first step is the AI has come back and said, I want to create this type of setup in this room. Well, first off, does it defy the laws of physics? Step two was, is this item actually, an item that's in our inventory, a very specific item? And so that was a second evaluation and critique. A third evaluation and critique was, there are certain clusters. If you ever go to like a home design showroom, you'll see that they purposefully put like an end table and a chair and a lamp and a plant. They put them all together in clusters. One of the things we learned is that these clusters should meet certain brand criteria or brand sensibilities. And so depending on which company you're working with, they may have different clusters. So the clusters had to match the design sensibilities and the brand sensibilities of that. So we're already in like 4 different evaluation steps. And that it's that methodical definition and methodical evaluation and instrumenting all of that, to your point, that really unlocks the scale. Once you get that right, then you can send lots of different requests and lots of different users through that same pipeline, and it meets the brand guidelines, it matches the laws of physics, and it actually matches inventory. It can create some pretty magical experiences.
Just briefly, tell us about Nano Banana.
So Nano Banana is our image generation model, latest image generation model. And this is a big theme, Michael, and that is that multimodal AI is the future. for a couple reasons. Number one, if one picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000,000 pictures. These multimodal AI models, like Nano Banana, can take images as inputs along with prompts, and it can create new things. If you take Nano Banana and the ability to create images, and you extend it, we're able to create videos as well. VO is a video creation model that we have under the hood of multimodal model. Extend it even more, we have a Gemini Live API. And I mentioned that use case earlier of being able to take your phone, flip it around, show it something, show the AI something, and it knows inherently that that's a cable modem, this is the model, and you can start your debugging right away. Nano Banana is a glimpse into the multimodal future of AI. And that's how humans want to interact with AI. They don't want to have to type things all the time. Sometimes they just want to show you something. So, hey, here's what I'm looking at. Give me some background on this, and it can explain mathematical equations. It can explain geolocations. That's the future of AI, is this multimodal immersive experience. And Nano Banana is one form.
How can you tell what's real from the hype with respect to AI? Then how can you turn that into something that's practical?
Measure, and be very transparent. I even have to coach my own team on this. When you're building something, the natural human tendency is to show all the best parts of it and to talk as though, everything is great. In our team, and what I would encourage for all of you that are working with AI, and especially building agents right now, is to gain the credibility and be very realistic about how it's going and measure incrementally. We break long agentic development workflows into very incremental steps, and we measure and we talk about what we need to do to hill climb on performance and or efficiency at every single step, rather than saying, oh, it's going to be able to do all this great stuff. We start with very atomic, very specific, and very measurable outcomes we're looking for. And we make a decision at each one of those gates about whether to proceed, whether to change, or whether to stop. And that type of transparency in every step of development and that very sober look at what it can and can't do will help bust the hype cycle. Also, for those of you that are leading projects, I highly encourage you not to make big statements about what AI is going to do, and instead think very soberly about what are the biggest problems that your organization is facing, and how might automation, speed, multimodality, how might those things combine to chip away at solving, what are always going to be some really complex problems that aren't, you're not going to solve through magic AI wand.
Approach it from a very practical standpoint about what problems you need to solve, rather than AI is great and will change our lives and solve everything in the world.
Yeah. And I will also say that in the history of technology, we always underestimate how profound the changes are going to be, and we overestimate how fast they're going to happen. And I think that also creates some of this hype cycle that you're referring to, which is now we can see the potential, but that potential will take years to realize. But to the point earlier, Michael, if you don't get started now, you don't climb the learning curve, and you don't create the incremental successes that eventually lead to the breakthroughs, and you're always watching somebody else do it.
Where is this all going in the next 6 to 18 months? What can we expect from your vantage point, from what you know right now?
First off, the models will continue to improve in capability, in quality, and you'll see more native multimodal capabilities, just like today, where you can go to Gemini and you can interact through voice, you can interact through video, you can interact through images. That multimodality is going to get more and more seamless, and it's going to feel more natural to interact with AI. Second, a continuous improvement around the out-of-the-box agents that are available to help people get started in Gemini Enterprise, more and more connectors to data sources. So, for those of you that have, SharePoint or Jira or Confluent or, all of those connectors and many, many more are coming. I can't emphasize enough how important the leader modeling the support of this exploration, this kind of new wave of exploration, how important that is in every way to agent development.
But you're really forcing organization business leaders, therefore, to become technologists. And the CEO or CFO, obviously Google's a special case because you're developing these products, but the average, manufacturing CEO, CFO, is it really realistic to expect them to get into the guts of
Absolutely.
really?
Absolutely. And they all want to. And see, that's the great part is my job is to make it so the technology is mostly invisible. So instead, what they see is a platform, like again, Gemini Enterprise, where they can go and they can just in plain language scope an agent, give it system instructions, give it initial prompts, click button on data sources, and build an agent. Now, it doesn't mean that CEOs, necessarily all CEOs, should be out there building multi-agent complex workflows for highly specific tasks. But it's my firm belief that they're all capable of participating materially in this technology wave. And that's one of the things that makes it so powerful and so ubiquitous, Michael, is that AI has gone from a department or a very weird and mystical technology to part of everyday life. Many of the agent workflows that I see, they're not commerce transactions, but we just released the agent payment protocol, AP2, as part of this kind of standardization stack. So MCP, A2A, which is the agent to agent protocol, and now the agent payment protocol, because we're going to want agents to fulfill tasks that include commerce. And that is going to be a significant area of focus, is making sure that that's done well, it's done safely, it's done securely. And AP2 agent payment protocol is the first step in that journey.
Will Grannis, Chief Technology Officer of Google Cloud. Everybody go to CXOTalk.com, subscribe to our newsletter. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.